No,
I love
the
the
musical.
Oh, yes.
It's a Christmas
Oh,
present.
did it eat all of my...
My name is Michael McGuire. I've been playing D&D for 7 years, and I play a level 9 monk, level 1 tattooed monk. My character doesn't have a name because he gave it up as a symbol of giving up material possessions.
My name is Peter McCann. Been playing D&D for 4 weeks, short amount of time, something like that. My character's name is Ivelios, and he shoots lots of arrows.
D&D is a pen and paper role-playing game. The easiest way to think about it is if you imagine any role-playing game that you've ever really played, like the easiest example would be World of Warcraft. And you take that, and it's very similar to that, but instead of playing a video game, you're actually using your imagination and your own thoughts to create that world. Like, instead of selecting options from a list for what your character does or says, it's actually what you can think of to make that happen.
Describe what it's like when everyone gets together to play D&D. Well, there's a lot of setup, and no matter what, it seems to take at least about an hour before all of us can get there and start playing. But once the game starts, you get a really fun mix between like real life stuff and being with your friends and the chance to role play your character and interact with the imaginary world around you.
Think of a room full of chickens on cocaine. Well, I first got into Dungeons & Dragons my freshman year of high school, and it was my one friend Tunic's birthday, and he got some D&D books for his birthday, so we went up into his room and we spent the rest of that night figuring out how to play it and ran a little dungeon crawl thing with characters we made in 5 minutes, and we didn't pay attention to half of the rules, but it was really fun and we were hooked.
How did I first get into D&D? I think I'd always known what D&D was, or at least for a long time, but always associated it with too much of like a hardcore geek lifestyle to really pursue it. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of college that I found out that people at Arcadia played it. And then I just kept asking people to play until someone let me join a game.
Well, I would have to say one of the craziest things that I've ever experienced in D&D was when I was DMing a level 20 campaign, and one of my players was a wizard, and I had introduced them into a city that was in a cave with a lake, and the city was in the lake, and it was populated by these magical fish creatures called a bolith. And so my wizard's solution to the problem was to cast anti-gravity field on the entire lake. So all of the water in the lake went to the ceiling, and all of the bolith that were inside of their buildings got stuck in the buildings when the water came out, and they suffocated. And then the wizard just walked through the city.
What's the craziest experience I've ever had in D&D? That would be being told to make another character kill itself. And to accomplish this, having to lie to him and make him believe that a magic wand was a different kind of magic wand. And he shot himself with it.
Why am I passionate about D&D? Well, with D&D, as opposed to video games or books or anything of that kind of media, you have the ability to make a fully customized character. Like, yeah, you have to pick a certain class and you get certain abilities, and that's just like a normal video game, but you control every aspect of your character's appearance and personality. And most video games, I mean, nowadays you get some like Fallout, which let you go really in-depth into how your character looks, but how your character behaves is still one of those things that's at most a branching tree chart and it's not full control. And that also applies to the storyline, because even in the most open world video games, it's always just you're following a path, and you may be able to do the things on that path in a different order, or you might be able to skip some things, but it's still a pre-written story, and you're still limited in that you can only do the things that the programmers of that game thought of for you to do and decided that they were okay with you doing them. Whereas in D&D, you can do absolutely anything that you want. Anything can happen, provided that you get yourself into that situation. And that provides a much deeper and enriching story experience than even the best books or video games can't give. And I think that's awesome.
What makes me so passionate about D&D? It has to be the possibilities. Play a lot of games, video games or board games or anything, but none of it really compares when in D&D I can think of anything and attempt to do it at least. It isn't what the video game designer, where he decided I could go or which weapons I have. It's what can I think of. Well, our party was attempting to cross a room that looked like an ordinary room in a house, but was actually filled with animated objects. So the chairs were trying to attack us, and the rug was attempting to trip us.
And I end up just getting thrown around by the rug for like 3 rounds.
Ecom, one of our party members, was having a lot of trouble with a particular rug.
And then I finally get to the other side after everybody else. And as we go to leave the room, I have this magic rod that whenever it's activated, it generates one of 100 random effects. And I, in spite, used the rod on the rug.
This backfired, and the rug fell in love with Ecom.
At which point it tried to embrace me, and I had to make a diplomacy check to try and calm it down, which I succeeded at. And then I realized, oh hey, if I can befriend this rug, I'm gonna have my own personal flying carpet. So I tried to do that, and in the course of those rolls, I somehow insulted the rug, and it went to leave all dejected and such. And then I apologized, at which point it came rushing back and tried to make love to me. And I failed the subsequent roll to try to stop it. So my character got raped by a rug. That was not a fun time.
Ecom tends to find himself in a lot of those positions.